What the heck? Play. Let's reset. Take it from the top. Here we go. Line it. Get the song back. Oh boy. Oh no. This isn't good. Oh, he's waving me off. I had a whole bit lined up for that. No. Welcome back to Wildcat Insider. My name is Mitch Fortner. Across the glass is AJ Shaw. Our phone number is 785-537-1350, and the Cats take on KU tonight. Let's get fired up. Come on. I know the Cats have lost 4 in a row. Doesn't take away that this is still a big game. Doesn't take away there's still thousands of K-State students lined up on the east side of Bramlage and Bill Snyder Family Stadium to get into this game. But AJ had it cut off my Child in Time song. I was going to give anybody $5 that could tell me what movie that is from and the band. AJ, do you know the band and what movie that is from? You know, Drum Tang had an analogy. God, I can barely speak today. I better get this mouth ready to go. That was going to be taken a little weirdly there if I phrase it that way. Anyway, Drum Tang used the analogy, a Die Hard analogy, in how that, and you played it during your updates in the first hour, about how this team refuses to be the victim, and in a way saying they're going to get control of their own destiny back, and they're going to make the John McClane comeback in Die Hard 1. And my thought is like, I think the level of difficulty in how K-State has, their offense looks like it's just so hard to go score on somebody. Reminds me of more like the 4th Die Hard. Like when John McClane is jumping out of cars, and it's on a completely another level when it comes to the level of difficulty. And right now, K-State has started to bury itself in a hole in the 4-game losing streak. The movie is not Die Hard. It's Twister. When Dusty, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, says like it's the wonders of nature, baby, and he cranks up some tunes, and he has the speakers on the outside of the.
I know what you're talking about now.
The, whatever you want to call it.
Top of the car.
Yeah, well, like it was more like a trailer, but and that where the song kicks in was that song, and it's Deep Purple. So I was like, you know what a good song to bring us back into the second hour. Deep Purple.
I know I screwed up. Okay.
AJ, who wins tonight, K-State or KU? Are you going to the game?
No, I have a lot of work I have to do. Unfortunately,
do you have student tickets?
I do. I've been to a couple of games this year, but tonight I couldn't do it. Unfortunately, I just have too much stuff going on.
Well, what you're supposed to do when it's K-State KU is all that stuff you have to do it tomorrow.
Except it's all due tomorrow.
What time?
12 o'clock, midnight.
Well, you have an hour and a half after the game. What have you been doing all weekend?
Doing other work and also fixing our problems on our little spreadsheet we had.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe next year. Have you ever been to a K-State KU basketball game?
I have. I went last year. It was the greatest game I ever been to at K-State. It was fantastic.
I've heard a lot of people say that was the best game they've ever been to.
In my time here, yes. It was the best game. I mean, that lob... I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes when I'm like watching that back, I know this sounds a little weird, but I'll like mimic what you were like. You go Keontae. I mimic that a little bit.
Well, here's the deal. So there were 3 big lobs last year. You had the Oklahoma State game, you had the KU game, and then you had Michigan State in overtime. I think the KU lob was my least favorite.
Really?
Of the 3.
I thought it sounded good, man.
I thought, was it Jalen Wilson? That played it well. He was just if he was a half second quicker, K-State doesn't get that play. Mm-hmm. So it was a tough dunk. But I thought because against Oklahoma State, you had it was one-handed.
Yes.
By Key.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Keys threw it too high.
Yeah.
And against Michigan State, you have the fake arguing between
that one was the best one.
Keys and Coach Tang, and then here comes the lob, and it's a reverse dunk. I'm like, I think after that explanation, can we all agree that the KU lob, even though it was the game winner. It was still a huge play.
Was.
The cojones to call that up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that Oklahoma State game took place. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think they were pretty close in time. I don't remember exactly how close they were, but it wasn't. The Oklahoma State game was first, and it wasn't too far ahead of the KU game. But anyway, doesn't matter. We still need a prediction from you.
All right.
Be honest. Go.
So my heart says K-State, but my head says KU. I apologize, everyone. I got to go KU 72, K-State 67. Hopefully this is a reverse jinx and K-State dominates, comes out with like the 30-point win. But in reality, my heart has K-State, but my head's KU right now. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Well, I have a whole gimmick to make my prediction. So let's go ahead and let's open up the thing.
Here's MitchPom with tonight's prediction.
The people say MitchPom more accurate than KenPom. So here we go. Although MitchPom has been wrong the last two games. K-State against KU. K-State 14-8, 4-5 in the conference. They've lost 4 straight. Meanwhile, KU, they are 18-4. And their record is 6-3 in Big 12 play. KU has they have won 5 of the last 7. Their 2 losses on the road. As a matter of fact, all 3 of their losses in Big 12 play on the road. In conference play on the road, they are 1-3. Their only win was against Oklahoma State. And that was back on January 16th, 90-66. K-State just lost in Stillwater, and the Cowboys did not have their second best player. Cats looking for their first run of back-to-back wins against KU at home since the 2014-15 seasons. KU is the best shooting team in the Big 12. And case in point was Saturday against Houston, where they have done most of their damage has been inside the arc. They are a 60% team inside the arc. They are 78% against Houston. Their three-point shooting is good, 35.5%, though they don't take a whole lot of threes. Just 16 a game. That is the least amount of threes taken per game in the Big 12. Now, what actually worries me the most, honestly, about KU is how well they pass the ball. They average 21 assists a game. That team, especially the starting 5, Fran Frischel actually brought this up during the Houston broadcast, and I agreed. I mean, everybody on that team is so smart with their passing that they know how to find the open shooter. 21 assists a game is the best number in the nation. Meanwhile, KU, again, good shooting team, second nationally in the nation as a team shooting 51.5%. There's only one team better, and that is the juggernaut known as Wright State. That shoots 53.4%. Defensively, I'm actually surprised they don't force many turnovers. They're only, and this is a rate of 16.2% forcing turnovers. I guess that's a big weakness of theirs. But I should say it is a big weakness, but I don't know if I want to use the word big, because that's still decent. Maybe for the Big 12, that's more towards when you look at everybody else, because that's 12th in the Big 12. That's still a decent rate. All right, players to look at, it's the entire starting 5. It really is. Kevin McCullough, it is very impressive how improved he is. Because throughout his career, for the most part, he's been a 10 points per game type of guy, and that's good. But now he's averaging 20 points a game. He is in the top 50 in the nation in scoring. He's had a couple of triple-doubles. He has made the most three-pointers. He rebounds at 6.5 per game. A much improved player. He is more known for his defense and his rebounding. Now he's more of a scorer. Of course, center Hunter Dickinson. Leads the Big 12, 6th nationally in rebounding, 11 a game. He's averaging a double-double, and he's had 12 double-doubles this season. Leads the Big 12, top 10 nationally. Is also a good scorer. He's a shot blocker. He grabs steals. I mean, he's the front runner for Big 12 Player of the Year. And right behind him is Kevin McCullough. Now, looking to another forward position at KJ Adams. Solid score around the hoop, of course, 64%. He has been flawless around the hoop these last couple of games, averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds per game in Big 12 play. His assist numbers are underrated. It'll be interesting to see the matchups here because the other forward, actually he's a guard, but he's the size of a forward, is 6'9" freshman Johnny Furphy. It's interesting to see the matchups and how KU decides to defend because K-State is, David Gasson's banged up. I didn't know this like Wyatt until the Oklahoma State game where, Gasson is dealing with a foot or ankle issue, and he's not 100%. He had to beg to get in the game against Oklahoma State. And they didn't make it happen as in making the substitution until they felt like they really needed him. So you have that. Will McNair, center versus center. I mean, let's be honest, and I'm not here to hurt feelings or anything, but that's a major mismatch in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but Hunter Dickinson versus Will McNair doesn't look too promising for K-State. So we're going to have to rely a lot on Jarrell Colbert, I think, tonight. But depending on the lineup, who was going to guard Jarrell Colbert? Colbert can be athletic. His move to the hoop isn't exactly fantastic, but he's got to be ready to be competitive and make those moves.
He works hard. He's a hard worker.
I agree. I do agree. So that'll be very interesting. DeJuan Harris, one of the best in the nation in assists, which is 6 per 6 a game. That's top 10. He's averaging 7.4 in Big 12 play, and also great defender. He's going to rack up the steals. And then Johnny Furphy, who is the true freshman out of Canada, and I believe he's Canada or Australia, I don't know. He's not from the United States. But in Big 12 play, he's averaging 14.5 points, 7 rebounds a game. He has been starting the last 7 games, and during that run, 14.7 rebounds a game. And he is such a stretch player. That's why he's listed as a guard. He can shoot the ball. He is 51.5% from 3 in the last 7 games. But KU is dead last in the Big 12 in 13 bench points per game. I see that as much of a similarity as what it was last year. And KU was even worse from the bench last year at like 9 points a game. But KU doesn't contribute a whole lot scoring-wise from the bench either at 15 points per game. What a key that was last year. What a key that was last year for K-State off the bench, because who came in and delivered? Desi Sills. 24 points in the game. He was hitting some tough shots. K-State had no shot without him. No shot without him. That was a big stepping stone into K-State kind of changing up the lineup. Desi Sills then jumps into the lineup, and that's what changed for K-State. K-State on this team does not have a Desi Sills. They just don't have that this year. Now, some keys to the game, get to overtime. Seriously. Cats are 10-0 under Jerome Tang in overtime. Beat KU in overtime last year. But for real, though, K-State has to knock down the deep shots tonight. Absolutely have to, because KU is going to play tough defense. Tough defense. K-State can't afford to just sit there for 5 seconds with the ball and think about what to do. You got to move the ball. They're going to have to shoot the 3 against this lineup, and you got to hit the shots. And it's got to come from Tyler Perry. It's got to come from Arthur Kaluma. And it's got to come from Cam Carter. K-State tonight cannot afford to have off nights. And plus, K-State just had a 50-point game combined from those 3 against Oklahoma State, and they still lost. So defense is a part of that. But guys got to step up. It's got to be more than just those 3. Not only do they have to be on their game, other guys have to step up in more ways than one. Rebounding is a key as well, as always. Like K-State has been a little bit better recently, but the offensive boards are a premium. I mentioned Jarrell Colbert. But here's last but not least, and that is K-State, you got to give the fans a reason to be in it. A slow start, being behind early, I really worry about that. I really do. Great start in Stillwater, but that did not continue on into the rest of the first half, and then it was like a shootout in the second half where there was no defense. We got to meet in the middle somewhere. It's got to all come together, but this is also a rivalry game, and I've said it before where in these kind of games, anything can happen. Worse K-State teams have beat better KU teams. So throw that in the mix as well, because things can get weird in a K-State KU game. I mean, Desi Sills before that 24-point game against KU last year didn't have a whole lot of big games. And that kind of came out of nowhere against KU. They'll probably have to take that to get it done against KU tonight. MitchPom says 32% chance. It's actually decent that K-State can win. The final score MitchPom predicts is KU 73 and K-State 68. Because it's a rivalry game, I'm giving K-State a little bit better chance. But I'm only raising it to 36%. 36% chance Cats get it done. Tad bit lower scoring, but I have KU 70, K-State 65.
So not that far off from where I'm at. I was 72-67.
And I didn't. I pick out my score before I look at MitchPom. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll adjust it. Sometimes I don't. I didn't this time. Kept it right where I had it, 70-65, Kansas Jayhawks. But like I said, I hope for the third straight time, MitchPom is wrong. Let's take a break, and when we come back, something a little bit different. I want to get an update from Bramlage. All the students in line. So I've invited Jon Grove, who is a K-State student, used to work here for a little bit. I want to get an update on what the morale is right now for the K-State students out in line outside of Bramlage. Jon will join us next. Back on Wildcat Insider, Mitch Fortner and AJ Shaw, phone number 785-537-1350. About to talk with Jon Grove here in just a second. Briggs Auto Lane presents Passport to Cabo. If you haven't heard the word on the streets yet, let me remind you about this incredible giveaway we were having. All expense paid trip next February to Cabo. In a 2-bedroom beachfront condo in Villa Valencia. Listen, guys, this is the same place that Jerome Tang vacations at. And it's pure class. Obviously, you can imagine it is top class getaway. And by the way, tacked onto that, we're also going to hook you up with a flight for 2 out of Manhattan Regional Airport. So make sure to stay tuned to K-Man. First location sponsor when it comes to registering instant finalists is coming up next week. So make sure to stay tuned to K-Man for those details. I have never left the United States. I've seen Canada from Detroit.
Oh, from Detroit. Okay.
Yes.
I was thinking from Niagara Falls, but all right.
No. Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
It's the only place where the United States is actually north of Canada, other than maybe Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do something a little bit different here. I'm always curious to know what's the details in a game like this when it comes to the students that have been lined up to get into Bramlage Coliseum for hours, and we are now joined by K-State student, used to work here at K-Man, and is lined up there at Bramlage Coliseum, Jon Grove. Jon, give us the latest on what's going on there at Bramlage. How long is the line for the students to get in?
Hey, Mitch, in terms of how long the line is, it's going all the way back towards Gate G of the football stadium, kind of to where, actually, it's on the northeast side of the football stadium. That's kind of how far it's stretched all the way back. Of course, there's the little ramp, but also leads up to Bramlage. That is also blocked up by the students as well. So, of course, they're ready for some basketball. I got here around 1:30. I kind of cheated my way up to the front area, but Yeah, it's going to be packed. Honestly, it might be packed to a point where you as a PA may have to call out, hey, it's going to be over capacity. Everybody's going to have to crowd in a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, it is jam-packed. Honestly, it might be beyond Gate G at this point.
Yeah, I saw your video. You tweeted it out. I'm looking at it right now because you had a couple of updates here. You said you got in line at 1:30. You got a premium spot. You knew somebody was in line. You could just join them?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, I cheated my way there.
Yeah.
There was a few guys that I'd been in close contact with throughout the morning, so I was able to chime in with them around 1:30 p.m. There was one guy who came in as early as 1:30 a.m. Even really just comes to tell you how devoted he is, and then really the people were start piling in. Well, the first portion pretty much piled in around 6 a.m. and then more came as time went on. So it's insane. It's crazy.
How's the morale? Because, I mean, K-State is coming in on a 4-game losing streak. KU just stomped Houston at home. I mean, I'm sure you're just talking with the general people that are around you. But what's the feeling out there at Bramlage right now?
Well, based on the people who I have talked with, they kind of show, well, of course it's a rivalry game, so everybody is kind of feeling, I mean, of course they're going to have a sense of pride in themselves, just with the amount of hatred that goes back and forth. No signs of KU fans, by the way, so that's a never good sign to mention as well. But while they do have that pride and hopefully they're able to pull off the upset, I think it's kind of similar to what AJ Shaw alluded to as well. It's kind of their heart is deep within the purple, but but based on what they've seen for the last few games, they wouldn't be shocked one bit if KU is able to pull it out in Manhattan.
Boy, people have been lined up there since 1:30 in the morning, which is crazy. You're lucky that it's only 45 degrees. It's 45 degrees. I've been out there for much colder weather. Have you been out there for colder weather? Like, what was it last year? I can't even remember.
So I showed up way earlier last year because I think of the game time. I think it was around 6:30 was tip. I think that might have been a Big Monday, but I could be wrong. But I got there last year around 10 a.m. It was really foggy outside. Just staring off into Bill Snyder Family Stadium and kind of the hills where kind of like once you get over the set of hills and you see Tuttle Creek, you weren't able to see the hills on that day, but it kind of gave you a pretty cool setting of what it was like in Bill Snyder Family Stadium. And on top of that, I had a good Penn sandwich, so it was nothing else too bad. It was a little bit cold, but so it goes.
Speaking with K-State student Jon Grove, who's in line for the K-State KU game, also hosted the Cat Attack every Thursday. And so has K-State, are they going to open the doors early, or is it going to be the same hour before tip-off?
Well, common sense would likely consider that you would have to open it 2 hours early just so everybody can get crammed in. But no, they're going to stick to the 1 hour.
Okay.
1 hour routine, just kind of everybody get crammed in. Right as the players are taking the court as well. I think there might be some occasions here or there where there may be separate tiers kind of lining up with each other as they inch closer to opening the gates. But just based on what we've seen in previous instances, especially with KU, I feel as if it's likely going to remain 1 hour until the gates open, and maybe early, just in case if the students are all wild up and they just want to get in there and let chaos reign. How
many classes did you skip to get in line?
None. I'm actually one of the good heart-sainted humans where I actually had to focus on my academics for that matter. So I had one class. It was philosophy. Nothing too bad with that. But then right afterwards, I got back to my apartment, and I put on my purple and white striped overalls, and then I immediately sprinted up there just to make sure I found a place in line.
All right, what is your strategy to get the best spot you possibly can? Because, again, you got a pretty prime spot in line. You are actually up against the east wall of Bramlage. It's basically in 3 tiers. So you have from the actual student entrance, which is on the southeast side, to basically where the stairs are in that northeast corner, and then you have the spiral stair, or the spiral slab, like the handicap lane, and then you have everybody else that's further along the east side of Bill Snyder Family Stadium. So you're going to get a pretty good spot. What's the strategy to get down to the spot you pick out? Are you going to sprint down the steps, or are you going to go down the bleachers?
Man, for this game in particular, I think just in terms of getting in there, well, first of all, you have to get the newspapers in order to kind of rip everything to shreds and just throw the paper up into the air when the starting lineups occur. But, I mean, you want to talk about, in terms of how I'm getting down there and possibly essentially to the front row, I'd probably say for a game like KU where everybody's just wanting desperately to get in as fast as they can, especially now that it's pretty cold outside. I'd probably say go down the ramp. Sorry, not ramp. I'd say the bleachers. Yeah, walk down the bleachers. I mean, you might be taking a risk, whether it's an injury or so. But yeah, I mean, for a game like this, I'll probably tend to sprint down the bleachers. I don't know, walk or sprint. I mean, honestly, it could go either very easy or it could go very risky.
Well, John, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your spirit. I appreciate your commitment to K-State hoops in this big one against KU. So you just have a few more moments, it looks like. Well, maybe an hour and 20 minutes about to wait in line still before you're into Bramlage. Enjoy the game, John, and thanks for calling in.
Appreciate it, Mitch. Shout out to AJ Shaw, by the way. He's doing a great job. You're doing a great work on the audio board, and go Cat.
Jon Grove, student at K-State, also hosts the Cat Attack show. You can hear him on Wildcat 91.9.
I appreciate the shout out, by the way, John. I don't know if I'm the best on this, but thank you.
Well, let's take a break. Let's continue Wildcat Insider when we come back. Busy night on K-Man. We'll have coverage of the Jeff Minnie Show coming up at 6. Troy Coverdale will have Manhattan High School hoops tonight. It is a rescheduled doubleheader between the boys and girls of Manhattan basketball as they will host Washburn Rural at the MHS Gym. And that'll be heard on newsradiokman.com only, with coverage beginning at a few minutes after 6 o'clock with Troy Coverdale on that broadcast. And then, of course, K-State Hoops will have pregame coverage at 7, tipping off at 8:07 officially. K-State and KU in the Sunflower Showdown. Big Monday. It's been a long time, actually, since Big Monday was in Manhattan. I believe it was 2018. The last time there was an official Big Monday ESPN 8 o'clock Monday night game inside of Bramlage Coliseum. So it's been a few years in the making to have this kind of big game, the big night of college hoops during the week of ESPN right here in Manhattan, Kansas. I saw the big game, the guy that runs the Big Game Boomer account and that the college sports show is in town for the second straight year. That's cool to see his tweets and the responses to them as he's been in Aggieville earlier today. It's cool to see the morale still high for this game. And I know, just the atmosphere, the word on the street about what the atmosphere is like for Bramlage Coliseum in this particular game has certainly taken a life of its own. I didn't go to my first K-State KU game until the 2010 game, which is the highest ranked K-State KU game there's been since. And I remember that just being off the hook when it comes to environment. And I can't stress this enough. And I don't know if they're having this show played outside of Bramlage as for any entertainment purposes before as we get closer to tip off. We're a little over 2 hours away, of course. But I can't stress enough how important atmosphere is in a game like this. As a public address announcer, I can speak on this, being so close to the floor and the student section just shouting right at you, like in your general direction. This season, I've been very impressed on how loud it gets, when the crowd really needs to bring it in those close games against, Villanova, to North Alabama, to Baylor, Oklahoma State. They cranked it up when we needed it. This is the game where it's cranked up all game long, and it gets incredibly loud. I've noticed this year, like in the big games so far, and when the crowd have needed to crank it up and we've needed the environment where it's loud. But for the KU game, it is literally hurts your ears loud. And that's the expectation tonight. And I think that's the expectation to the viewers. And the reputation that Bramlage Coliseum now has, once again, returning to the Octagon of Doom, that's the excitement for tonight's game. It really is. Because K-State, there's not a whole lot of people that are going to pick K-State to win tonight. But I've noticed the Vegas line has been 4.5 now to 3.5. Vegas does like, in a way, chances of an upset. And I think some bettors have been taking K-State to maybe pull this one off. Even though MitchPom didn't pick K-State to win, chances of K-State winning this game, even though the Cats are playing well right now, it's not slim. I think there is a decent chance the Cats win tonight. The smart bettor wouldn't pick K-State to win because KU is just on a much better run right now. Though I will say it is interesting that the places KU has lost so far. They lost at West Virginia. Iowa State's really good. I'm not going to hold that against them. It's still a heck of a performance. But also lost at UCF. West Virginia is still trying to figure things out. UCF has been way better than expected. But KU lost those games in games where it felt like UCF and West Virginia were by far the better teams. And it feels like the common denominator is that these teams that played against KU and hosted them, they just shot the ball better. Drum Tang has said it many times that what it has taken for K-State to get over the hump in a lot of these home games and these close contests is that they were feeding off the crowd. And I totally buy into that. I mean, there's so many times in big games like this where K-State goes on a run and you'll see the team pumping up the crowd, trying to keep them in it, keep making noise. That's why defenses, when you're at home and K-State defense is like, here comes a big play. That's why everybody's trying to tell you, pump up the crowd. Let's get into it. So tonight's pretty big, obviously. It's big for us. We've been saving all the energy for tonight. And K-State's trying to correct a lot of things. Man, it would be awesome to see it all happen tonight. It really would. I'm just saying a lot has to go right for K-State to win this game. And I remember last year, really KU, it took a big game from, who was it last year? Jalen Wilson. He scored over 30 points, I think, and Bill Self called that timeout when he hit a big three in overtime and didn't end up counting because Bill Self took the timeout. K-State's got to find a way to limit this starting five. There aren't really a whole lot of threats off the bench for KU, but their starting five is really solid. Really solid. Cats got to find a way to limit some of that production. You poke a few holes in that lineup, and that can really change the game. So it's a tough task tonight. But it's a rivalry game. It's Bramlage Coliseum, the Octagon of Doom. KU is in town. In a game like this, I don't care what the records are. I don't care what the losing streak is. I don't care what a winning streak is. In a game like this, and we have seen during the Bruce Weber era, anything can happen. Tonight, all bets are off. All bets are off. A win tonight, though, could do so much for K-State's season. Let's take a break. We'll wrap up Wildcat Insider when we come back. I don't think this bet has ever been played on the show before. All right, we wrap up Wildcat Insider. Interested to see what Jerome Tang does with the lineup tonight. Does he move Will McNair back in the lineup? Is David Gasson feeling better? Is he closer to 100%? Not sure, but expect him to play tonight, and they roll with Day-Day Ames in the starting lineup. We will see. Meanwhile, in the Big 12 tonight, K-State KU, the only game in the conference tonight. Tomorrow, 4 matchups. And actually, nobody playing Wednesday. There are a couple of teams with the midweek off. But obviously, some actually very intriguing games. I do like number 14 Iowa State playing at Texas. Texas coming off that win against TCU on the road. Meanwhile, Iowa State, who's been one of the hotter teams in the country, just lost at Baylor, and it was a real messy game. The officiating, technical foul on Scott Drew, but the Baylor still came out on top, 70-68. So Iowa State looking to get one back on the road, and then you have Texas Tech at Baylor. That could be a real slobber knocker. Nobody plays on Wednesday, and then Saturday, I feel like it's kind of a down week for the Big 12, but you never know what will happen. Yeah, Bedlam, but that feels, of course, one side. And by the way, Oklahoma losing Saturday at UCF, kind of puts even more of a downer, I guess, on the loss last week for K-State against the Sooners inside of Bramlage Coliseum. I'm interested to see Iowa State host TCU. That's an okay game. I think the most interesting one, not to be a little biased here or anything, but is K-State at BYU. It's a brand new environment for K-State and us K-State fans. Never seen the Cats play in Provo. Be the first, other than K-State soccer, it's the first team to go to Provo and play against BYU. So very interested. And by the way, that game Saturday, Central Time tips off at 9 p.m. So it's Big 12 After Dark, basketball edition. That's going to do it for Wildcat Insider. I want to thank AJ Shaw for doing his great work on the board as always. Jon Grove rejoined us earlier as well. Mitch Fortner signing off. I'm about to head myself to Bramlage Coliseum for K-State against KU. By the way, online only, newsradiokman.com. Manhattan Hoops taking on Washburn Rule. Troy Coverdale on the call. That broadcast about to start here in a few minutes. For AJ, I'm Mitch. Enjoy K-State and KU.
Getting you closer to the locker room than anyone